All right, we are live. As this was unexpected, actually, with some breaking news. Karl-Anthony Towns is traded from the Timberwolves, but wait for it, it's to the Knicks.
Yeah, it's to the Knicks. Package that includes Julius Randle Donte DiVincenzo. We are still trying to figure out all the details as of this point. Just a few minutes ago, also announced the Charlotte is going to be involved in this trade as a third team as a result of all this money moving that's going around these parts because of the NBA's money rules. Apparently, the Knicks and the Timberwolves are both unable to take on additional cap with this move. So, for the, as Nick, you would put it, background parts, they are going to be ringing in Charlotte as well for this.
So here's an interesting wrinkle. So I know a lot of the NBA insiders for The Athletic, and I can never pronounce his name. John Krasinski is the guy who covers the Timberwolves for The Athletic. This is 17 minutes ago, but it's very important key information. The word from the Towns camp is this is, quote, stunned.
Really? Because knowing how the NBA and how it's a player-first league, I would have thought that maybe Cat was requesting some sort of trade or something that we didn't know about.
Well, that kind of throws a little bit of a monkey wrench into this. If his camp is reportedly saying that they're stunned by this deal, that there's an issue now because I would think he'd be happy being in New York now that he's got a big point guard in Jalen Brunson in New York. But I don't think he had a no trade clause. I'm trying to look that up. And by the way, thank you. I see a bunch of people joining our live stream as we speak. Mm-hmm. So ask questions away. We'll do our best to figure it out. I'm trying to look up Karl-Anthony Towns' contract as we speak. Ben, what do you think in the meantime when you saw this news break?
Yeah, I mean, it's still going to be Celtics in 5 at the end of the day. But regardless, no, I think all jokes aside, I think this is a really interesting move. This move, I think, came out of left field. I know there obviously was kind of like the speculation of Cat with the Knicks kind of like months ago, but I think it was more kind of like preliminary, like, what if this so-and-so could have happened? But, like, there wasn't any, like, traction or anything. And apparently, according to a tweet I was reading just recently, too, there apparently was intensified talks of this in the last couple of days. And apparently partly of this overall, guys, is this is a massive thing for their payroll. They're trying to shed payroll apparently in Minnesota, and I guess that they're trying to get some type of return back at this point in time. So this is what happened. They had to move on from one of their pillars from the duo and move Karl-Anthony Towns to the Knicks. The Knicks are obviously a team that is trying to contend for a championship. And, you know, who would have thought that it seemed like it was going to be the Nova Knicks, you know, at least for a couple months, you know, ago. Of course, them getting Mikal Bridges and, you know, them going to have.
All right. Apparently, we are having technical difficulties.
But yeah, I think it was just a crazy move. It just came out of left field. And in terms of who I think wins this trade, I mean, I think it helps the Knicks offensively, but I don't know about the defensive part. And I think as well, too, with the spacing as well, I think that Cat obviously brings that offensive game, the pick and pop game. He can obviously shoot the three really well. But it might be the bench that I kind of worry about now with the Knicks. Now with the Wolves, I mean, the Wolves, I think they're going to be starting Pat's guy, Naz Reid at center. So I'm really kind of curious to see how he feels right now about this, of course, with him being a Wolves fan. You know, they're obviously going to have DiVincenzo there. They're going to have Julius Randle, of course, with Anthony Edwards and company. So the Wolves, I think, are going to be pretty deep as a whole. But, you know, yeah, they're going to be getting a third team involved. That's going to be Charlotte. It seems like from pretty much what the Shams tweet was, it seems like that they're going to be, I think, some overall shedding salary. I don't think it's going to be for somebody crazy per se. But yeah, just all you're going to say is wow. And it's interesting how they decided to do this trade right when training camps opened up too.
That's what Tom said before we started.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
4 weeks
because,
before the season, 4 weeks before tip off, and all of a sudden,
yeah,
this.
because obviously the Celtics just had media day a couple days ago. You had the Nuggets had media day, I think today or yesterday. But a couple teams are having theirs, I think, coming up, and it's just like, well, I guess there was either like a last minute type of thing they wanted to do with it, or I don't know. Partly something maybe tells me that like they just had to do this, and it was just gonna be something that was gonna hurt a lot, but it was bound to happen apparently. So
All right.
And-
Two tweets that just came out within the last 7 minutes. Chris Herring, who I don't know if you know Chris Herring, but he's covered the NBA for quite a long time. ESPN, New York Times. Just 2 days ago at a groundbreaking ceremony for a new school in the Bronx, Julius Randle, the longest tenured player on the team, was honored for donating $1.3 million to help the effort. Leon Rose and Thibodeau were present, among others. Now he's traded to Minnesota.
wow.
Number two, Ramona Shelburne, who's now probably going to get elevated to even more NBA high insider status now. Karl-Anthony Towns is, quote, still processing this trade, according to a source close to him. But it's worth noting Knicks coach Tom Thibodeau has been publicly very complimentary of him since he left Minnesota, something that's been noted by Towns.
I mean, to be honest, I think we all are still kind of processing this deal. I think we're all kind of stunned by it. So that leads me to believe it was something.
Ooh.
Okay.
So Krasinski, the guy from Minnesota Athletic, remember how you were asking about the trade request? So he just cleared it up. One thing to be clear on tonight, Cat did not make the trade request.
Oh, that's where I was going to. So that combined with something tells me here that Minnesota had a look at its books, and Nick, you and I were talking about this right before we started, that they have interest in giving some sort of bag and some sort of additional years to one. And unfortunately, as Ben said, that means at the sacrifice of Karl-Anthony Towns. Now, I'll go straight into how I'm feeling as a Knicks fan. I feel excited. I feel like, oh my God, we have Cat, we have Bridges now. Like, we have a really solid team. But Ben, as you went into, it's the depth that scares me. Randall gone. DiVincenzo was our 3-point man during the playoffs. He's gone. First round pick that was going to go to the Knicks. Nick, you said is now going to go to
Detroit.
It's going to Detroit because it's top 13 protected. Well, it's from Detroit. As part of the trade, Minnesota is receiving a 2025 top 13 protected first from Detroit.
So, and my thing is, and Nick, you know this, because we've talked about this for quite a while. As we were watching the young Knicks rebuild, we said, when is it going to get to the point where James Dolan is just going to say, F this, try to speed it up, and bring in a big name? But now, of course, they have two big names to their roster with Cat and with Bridges, which I know, Nick, you were just an absolutely fantastic fan of that trade as a Nets fan.
No. I mean, again, I look at this trade, I'm not stunned by a ton when I see news drop in the NBA side of things. This one, I was absolutely surprised in every way, shape, or form. I didn't expect to hear. I thought the Knicks would make a few B+, B- moves, like to kind of secure the bench here and there and do all that.
Actually, Nick, sorry to interrupt, but like that's my thing, because you know my feelings about Dolan and why maybe my feelings of Dolan kind of cloud a little bit of my judgment on this. At the same time, when we're talking about the acquisition of, an A player, and I'm worried that A player that Dolan and company try to target is actually like a B+ or a B player trying to disguise as an A player. But no, this offseason they get Bridges and Cat. I mean,
I like Bridges, by the way, and you're right. I was pissed when the Nets traded Bridges to the Knicks, of all places. I mean, first of all, I don't think Karl-Anthony Towns is the solution to winning a title. I'll say that, number one.
So the thing about Cat, right, is he brings the offense, but his defense is very lackluster. Even though that he has the perimeter overall size, I think partly this might tell me, guys, is that Mitchell Robinson's health is going to be a massive factor, and they want to specifically have a piece, to this. And with Harkenstein obviously on the move, which I think that was obviously low-key a very big time loss that you guys had, because I think Harkenstein brought both. I think he brought both the offensive rebounding protection. He brought the offensive game itself. And Robinson's kind of a similar guy, but he just cannot stay healthy. So I just thought it was really fascinating how the Knicks, and, obviously I can give you guys this question as well too, but does this move specifically, if you look at the Knicks roster from yesterday and now you look at it from today after this trade?
Oh.
Wait, did you see the Shams tweet or no?
No.
Oh, what?
A Karl-Anthony Towns tweet.
Is it the ... tweet? Yeah. I knew. Of course he did. He didn't want to be traded. I could have told you that.
Obviously, if the camp was obviously shocked, and then you obviously have the player after it probably seeing it.
I told you. The camp said that they were, quote, stunned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It said in the Krasinski tweet that he didn't want to be traded in 9 years that he was there. First of all, if you're willing to sign a 4-year, $222 million deal to stay in Minnesota, that sounds like commitment to me if I ever heard it.
Yeah.
So there is a Shams tweet for 20 minutes ago that I didn't see. It says the Knicks are sending salary, including Daquan Jeffries and draft compensation to Charlotte in this 3-team deal. So I'm assuming that's the pick that they were getting from Detroit. I'm assuming
as well. I don't know. Are A-Rod and Laurie still technically the owners?
I think they lost that deal. I think.
Or are they out? And is it back to Glenn Taylor?
I think he basically said he gave him a deadline. They didn't get to it.
All right. Well, clearly, Minnesota ownership. You talk about commitment. Clearly, Minnesota ownership saw something in the numbers financially and said, yeah, no, we're going to have to decommit from that.
That tells me that Anthony Edwards is going to be their guy down the road, and they might have to go.
It's funny you say that because Krasinski just dropped another thing talking about Edwards, McDaniels, and Reed.
Yep.
So the Wolves see this as a way of adding depth, leaning in on Edwards, McDaniels, and Reed, and lengthening the window of competitiveness. They have long coveted DiVincenzo. Randle's scoring can help. The Detroit first is a significant asset moving forward. That last sentence is very important because they could take that first round pick and trade it for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So are we going to see a big 3 scenario eventually down in Minnesota?
Well, I heard, Jimmy Butler's name has been floating around down the road. I don't think it'll be a great overall move for Jimmy Butler to go there, but a guy like him, right, who could be out there next year.
He was already there once.
Yeah.
at that point, it's just to be a veteran presence.
Yeah. We've seen big 3s now around the league. I pretty much have said all along. They don't work. They just don't work.
The reason it's not because of the players. It doesn't work because of the salary cap structure. You can't do it anymore.
Well, yeah, that it also though the chemistry. We've seen with a lot of teams, with a lot of big time stars, it doesn't matter if you have all these stars, but the chemistry doesn't work. The big 3 is just not going to work out. There's obviously times that it does, but most times than not, it doesn't.
Yeah, I'm just trying to gather as much information because stuff after stuff after stuff is flying in on this deal. But I'm more surprised that because usually when you see a big star's name get mentioned like this, it's usually because they're demanding a trade out, a la CP3, Harden, Anthony Davis, Durant. When a big name like Karl-Anthony Towns, now people are going to hit me the wrong way when I make this comment. Karl-Anthony Towns is not an A star in my book. I think he's a B-level star. I think he's on the same.
So you're telling me this is a typical James Dolan move?
No, I think Karl-Anthony Towns is a really good player. I'm not questioning that. I just don't think he's on the level of KD, Anthony Davis, LeBron, That
It's
level.
definitely the biggest star that you guys have gotten in a while.
Agree.
That's the thing. And honestly, the thing is, I'm sorry, Ben, but the thing is, you're saying Kevin Durant and you're saying LeBron James. I mean, yeah, but at the same time, those guys have all had years on them and all have a legacy. Cat is still growing. And honestly, I would rather Cat than all three of those names that you said on the Knicks at this point. Because I think none of those three do anything for the Knicks compared to what
I wasn't saying to go get them. But obviously, because first of all, LeBron's over the hill. You're not going after him anymore. You're not going after KD because KD can't stay healthy on the court anymore. Anthony Davis is a flight injury risk, so you're not going after him either. Karl-Anthony Towns, believe it or not, people don't know this, but he's got injury concerns too.
He does.
Mm-hmm.
So the name is big. The game is big. But can he perform in New York and stay healthy for what they gave up? Now,
well, now wasn't Randle hurt though?
Randle was hurt, but he was kind of under the radar as a star. So,
really good year last year. He was had some of his career highs, I think, last year.
And by the way, this is not a surprise that Julius Randle was not traded. He was traded because remember all the incidents he had on court between him and the fans, and saying basically screw the New York fans.
Well, his name has also been thrown in trade rumors for a little bit.
Right, but he would come out to the media and say, I don't care what New York fans think and all that stuff. Like, you can't do that in New York. Like, that doesn't fly. You better play your ass off, and you better play well if you're going to go attack the fans in New York. It's just not going to... Same thing, Ben, in Boston. Can you imagine if Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown went after the fans and they played like shit and didn't win a title?
It would be game over. Yeah, no. It would not be pretty.
I mean, Jason Tatum got shit for years because they didn't win titles. Now they're not going to give him shit anymore because he finally won a title.
Yeah. I mean, I think it took a long time for the fans specifically. A lot of people, a lot of media people are saying, is this duel going to ever work? I saw Richard Jefferson the other day saying that if you take away Jason Tatum, you put Donovan Mitchell in, they're going to still win the You don't know that. I mean, just kind of give credit where credit's due. You know, we won the championship last year, but obviously we're moving on to this year, and you know, hopefully we can repeat as, you know, back-to-back champs.
Well, okay. You just made a point that actually I was going to make.
Yeah.
When you mentioned about going for next year, this does not put them over the Celtics at all. Zero. Like, does it push them up higher in the pecking order? Yes. It pushes them up in the pecking order.
I still feel we're talking about the Knicks here. I still feel the same way as I did with the Bridges trade. That I think if you take this roster now and put them against the Pacers, healthy and not hurt as they were going into last season's second round, I think they beat the Pacers and they go to the Eastern Conference Finals. I still think they do lose to the Celtics. But Knicks Celtics is basically going to become the rivalry now in the Eastern Conference to watch.
That's going to be fascinating. Hopefully we'll be able to do
that's
that
the
opening
tip-off
day.
Game,
that's the game that, well, for people who are watching us for the first time, we have a sponsor, Playback.tv. We watch streams on. That's going to be.
We're going to have to watch that game now.
Of course, we're going to have to watch that game.
On. Well,
yeah,
I can't wait, man.
I mean, the Karl-Anthony Towns trade made the Knicks definitely more headlines in New York for sure.
Definitely.
I mean,
I think, well, if we're going to talk about windows, because you guys talked about and you guys said all the depth that this now is going to hopefully start to bring over to Minnesota. I definitely think that this is a win for the Knicks in the short term, maybe a win for the Timberwolves when it comes to the long term. But now, if we're going to talk about championship windows here, obviously for the Knicks, we can't say it's now or never, especially because you guys are saying it's still, you know, not putting them above the Celtics. But how long do you give the Knicks now with this trade?
I mean,
still a decent time because I think that most of their guys are still on the fairly young side. Most of them, I don't even think Jalen Brunson has really hit his prime just yet. I think he's still even building himself to becoming even more of a special talent on top of what he already is. Bridges and Hart. I mean, you guys just have a great overall chemistry. And I think that is one thing that I think with Cat coming in is going to be good with you guys. I just worry specifically. They remind me, Tom, of last year's Celtics team, in which a way where they had a really dominant starting five, but then when it came to the bench pieces, thankfully with the Celtics, we were just super stacked last year. That didn't really mean much, right?
Well, you almost had 6 starters, one coming off the bench, as opposed to a bench. Now, don't get me wrong. You had I don't know why I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head.
Smart for Porzingis?
No. Who was on the Olympic team this year?
Derek White.
Yeah, Derek White was.
And
Derek White was essentially a 6 starter coming off the bench, and that's why that team worked. Excuse me, because Derek White had starters mentality coming off the bench. So even though he was only playing 20 minutes a game at times, sometimes more, deeper into the playoffs and the finals, I think he was getting starts at some point. So you need a gritty player like a Derek White to win. I don't see a gritty player on the Knicks like a Derek White.
Which they still need. At the same time, I did
OG,
say
technically, he can be that as like a blue guy.
Actually, one thing I will say is they kind of traded their gritty player in Donte DiVincenzo.
At the same time, I did say at the end of their season when they were eliminated in the second round, I said, if there is one thing that they need, it is a man of size. And Karl-Anthony Towns, you guys can't ignore, he is a man of size. He is exactly what they need. Now, did they come at the cost of, like you said, depth and grit? Yeah, but hopefully they can still find a couple or some people on the Knicks roster can grow into those kinds of roles.
Right. I mean, I don't know. This is a tough one because, again, I like Jalen Brunson. He's obviously going to be your future point guard for another 4 to 5 years at least. You have Karl-Anthony Towns. So you have both of them for the next 4 years.
So are you saying that's the window? We have to win in the next 4.
Yes. You have no choice. But the problem is the Celtics window right now is probably another 4 to 5 years at least.
We're not going anywhere either.
So you're almost going to have to catch lightning in a bottle against this team. You're going to have to catch them in a moment's notice, and win games, tough, gritty games. You're going to have to win season series. No, but you're going to have to win season series to get the advantage over the Celtics in the regular season, which I just don't know if that's going to happen.
What about then, as I mentioned, in the long run for Minnesota? Because, I mean, temporarily losing Cat is going to hurt.
So here's the question I ask every time a major star is traded from one city to another. Why did you sign him? Why did you sign him to a 4-year, $220 million deal? Knowing if you were going to trade him anyway, you should have just not put the money on your books at that point because you're going to have to pay some of that. So why even do it? And no one has an answer to that question. Even we don't have an answer to that question because they're going to come out and say, "Oh, well, Karl-Anthony Towns was part of our deep future to win a title." Well, really? Then why did you trade him? And don't tell me Naz Reid is a better player than Karl-Anthony Towns.
I know somebody who would like to dispute that. No, I was not being serious with that.
I know. But I'm just saying.
It still says on some of these reports that Laurie and A-Rod are still the owners.
Is it? Well, yeah. I think they're fighting to remain owners.
Well, here's my question. When they originally got Cat, A-Rod and Laurie were not the owners, right?
I think so, right.
So my point being that I guess, is there a difference in philosophy that has changed, regardless of what's happened with ownership?
I don't know.
Or
are you talking about the Timberwolves or the Knicks?
Timberwolves.
I don't know what the hell Timberwolves ownership is doing right now, to be quite honest with you. I thought they were going to make a run with Karl-Anthony Towns. First of all, I like the 2 big man set with Naz Reid and Karl-Anthony Towns.
I thought with how they reached the conference finals, I thought they were going to basically reload and basically say, all right, we're going to go for it again. And now they just trade Cat away.
I mean, trading size away, which is a rarity. And I don't mean just like your typical 6 foot. You're trading away a guy who's 7 feet, who can rebound 18 to 20 rebounds a game, can put up triple doubles almost easily at times. He shoots for range as a big man.
Yeah, you don't get that often too. You don't get many big men that could be post players and shoot from the 3. So they're taking a risk. I mean,
you guys have one specifically, even though Tom doesn't like talking about him anymore. But Porzingis.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that's rare. You don't see a 7-footer who can shoot threes with ease and then can get in. Well, I would argue partially that Karl-Anthony Towns' post game is not perfect by any means, and there are some issues with it. But I think his struggles in the postseason might have gotten him traded.
Could have been.
Also, because if you remember when we did some of the games, how many deep range shots, unnecessary deep shots, was he taking? A ton of threes that were not even needed.
Unfortunately, I think part of that is just the game these days.
But like I said, I have the contract up and I'm looking at it. I mean, so it's 4 years, $220.5 million. He's going to make 49.2 for 24-25. For 25-26, it goes from 49 to 53 million.
Yeah, basically both teams kind of win, both teams kind of lose. It's I've said Knicks in the short term, Timberwolves can be in the long term if they play their cards right.
I guess I don't know if both teams won or.
I mean,
lost.
the most underrated thing we talked about is that first round pick, because that first round pick theoretically could be traded for. I mean, typically when you have a first round pick, you'd be able to get some assets back. So
Randall next to Rudy might actually be. I don't agree with that at all. Because Rudy is a defensive-minded basketball player.
Yeah,
he's not looking to shoot the ball. He's out there. What has he won? 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards.
I think the question that we're left with at this point, and we're probably not going to have an answer by the time we get off of here, is again, like you were just saying before, why? Why all of a sudden are they trading Cat away? I mean, Cat is stunned. His team, his agency is stunned. We're left stunned. You know, regardless of the teams that we support, whether it's Nets or Celtics or Knicks.
Look, can I interrupt one more second here? And here's the other problem I have with that statement where they say his agency and his team were stunned. I'll go one step further. I don't buy it. And here's why I don't buy it. Because most stars are told when moves are going to happen. He's a star. He's a franchise player. He's got the biggest contract on the roster.
Which I get your logic, but at the same time, if we're questioning Timberwolves ownership on why they're doing this, would you not put it out of the realm of possibility?
No, because Timberwolves ownership is awful. But
that's my point.
But I don't buy the fact that his agents and his agency are saying that they didn't know. Star players' agent know everything. Rudy's an elite regular season defender. He's deserved a lot. Yeah, I'm not arguing that. Of course he's been a defensive player of the year. That was not what I was arguing there. Okay. My point is
your point, you were talking about chemistry.
Yes.
Which is funny enough, the concern that I have, because I keep talking about being a Dolan move. Like, we have seen Dolan go after guys for the sake of trying to have a star in New York and trying to spark something within the team when it comes at the cost of team chemistry. And I think that was a concern. I'm sure, Nick, we've talked about it. I'm sure you would agree, Ben. That's been a concern about the Knicks, about something that Dolan would do, that all of a sudden then he trades somebody to try and get that big star, when meanwhile you got all this youth around you, and you got all this developed chemistry that has led them to success, chemistry that led them to, I mean, this past season, guys, was probably one of the most, if not the most memorable season that the Knicks have had in 20, 30 years. So,
I do think, though, that they did get out offensive rebounded in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And this for sure will help that because, again, when you put a big 7-foot-plus guy in the middle of the paint, he's going to rebound. That's why he's there. I mean, he's also there to score. But, again, I'm not buying this nonsense that his agents are saying they're stunned and they didn't know. All stars know if they're going to be traded. That's why I don't buy this 100%. Because
Typically the player also gets like a leeway in terms of like, all
Right.
right, you're kind of on your track of going somewhere else, but then you have your camp pretty much saying something opposite. So I think your point, essentially, Nick, you're pretty much just saying like, they're pretty much making it as a PR move specifically, in which you're like, okay, we're going to be stumped, but at the end of the day, it's really whatever's inside the camp. We're just not going to say anything because we don't want to throw anybody under the bus.
you hit it exactly on the nose. That's 100% correct. That this is PR. It's bad PR, number one, but
Yeah.
it's PR. They think that they're winning this PR stunt by saying that, oh, well, he's stunned. He had no idea. Let's make the Timberwolves look like assholes in the process. And then, oh, I get traded to the Knicks? Yes, I get to go to a big market team. But you can't, what is that dumb saying? You can't be on both sides of the argument. You can't have your cake and eat it too.
Two things to tangle or whatever. To tango.
Yeah, what
It
have we
takes
got?
two to tango.
Takes
What
two to
is it?
tango. Thank you.
Mitch Robert tweeted a cryptic message yesterday saying the truth always comes out in the end. I think, yes, exactly. I agree with this message, this YouTube message here. That he says, I think the players already knew. Yes, that's 100% right. The players, of course they knew.
So the cat tweet then, it's either he just is like, all right, it's closure.
Yes.
In Minnesota, and
Yes.
it just doesn't really want to say anything right now, or
Right. 100%.
Yeah.
And that's why this whole thing is bogus. If his agents were smart, they would stop talking.
For those who didn't see it, this was on his Instagram story the other day.
The truth always comes out of... Well, it's coming out right now.
So guys, that's the thing. So I think it was on the Knicks reporters that said the talks have intensified over the last couple of days. So essentially, there must have been some type of PR report out there that they essentially kind of knew. All the players essentially kind of knew, but they wanted to kind of make sure that this trade was going to work out. Players started to find out about it, and then it's almost just like, boom, it comes out on social media, and then you can see players kind of like reacting to see what other people are reacting to because it just came out of left field.
I think, and I can't confirm because I don't know, I think Karl-Anthony Towns wanted to be traded out of Minnesota. I think, Tom, you had it right originally, that I think he knew he was never going to win because they can't get over the hump to get to the NBA Finals and compete. They're one step short every time. Remember, they brought in Jimmy Butler. Like, they won some games, and then what did Jimmy Butler do? He caused drama and trauma and left.
Trauma, and trauma.
Yes. I mean, stars don't work in Minnesota unless you're KG, but he didn't win a title there. You know how hard it is? They've never won a title before, right? Or am I making that up?
Minnesota? I don't think so.
I don't think they've even sniffed the finals, to be quite honest. I mean, but I'm just not buying the fact, the PR shenanigans that Cat's team is pulling and saying, yeah, okay, Minnie never won.
Yeah. 2000 they've made it to the Western Conference Finals, well, now twice. One 2003, 2004, and then the other was, of course, last season.
So, I mean, maybe this was Minnesota saying, hey, you're a star, but we're never going to win with you. It could have been that, too. I don't know. It could be a lot of things.
Okay, so Kat, so you're talking about the overall requested trade. John Krasinski or whatever from Timberwolves.
For the Minnesota beat writer for The Athletic.
I don't know if you saw this one at 11:01. He said, one thing to be clear on tonight, Kat did not request this
Yes,
trade.
we read that before. Yep.
Yeah.
So he's claiming he didn't request a trade. I think that's him trying to save face, to be honest.
Okay.
I think. And I think, by the way, the Knicks totally... What's that term you use, Tom, when you say someone just completely owns somebody in a trade? You used to say it all the time.
Fleece.
Yeah, thank you. I
Fleece
think the Knicks fleeced the Minnesota.
And that's the thing. Like, I am a little concerned still about the chemistry, typical James Dolan, yada, yada. I mean, to only have to give up Julius Randle and Donte DiVincenzo for one of the great young stars of this league kind of sounds cheap.
Yeah, it did sound kind of cheap. This was from me and Begley 30 minutes ago. Knicks per league sources in touch with team feel they had a great opportunity to address their biggest need at center in trading for Karl-Anthony Towns.
What did I say at the end of the postseason? That they needed a big man.
Yep.
Well, I said that. They were getting out rebounded.
Robinson can't stay on.
Wait.
Oh, I knew that already.
Music just put out a good point, though.
I knew that.
Also coached Cat in Minnesota.
Well, Thibodeau at one point, I think, was coach GM, I think, at one point in Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken.
Thibodeau also got the extension this offseason, too. So he was just like, okay, if I'm going to get extended, I'll bring somebody else with me that'll get extended, too.
Well, first of all, you have to be careful. And Tom doesn't like the big T word I'm about to bring out. But tampering. You've got to be very careful with the tampering rules that we don't go across the hallway and say, come over here. Come over here.
Even though the NBA kind of, they pick and choose when the tampering rules go into effect.
Well, you're talking about the Kristaps Porzingis situation, right?
That, and did the Knicks lose a second-round pick?
Because of that, because of the tampering stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we originally had Porzingis with the Malcolm Brogdon. He was going to go to the Clippers, and that didn't work out. I don't know what was going on. I think it was the injury problem there. So we had to rework it. We had until like midnight or some crap about that, and thankfully we got it done because I remember I was on the fence. I'm just like, please get this done, please. And thankfully they got that done. But yeah, losing Marcus Smart, kind of a stuff. But
I saw this.
Imagine bringing back D Rose, Tosh, and he'll just say, "All right, guys."
Hey, this is Team Chicago over in Minnesota. By the way, for people
I know Derrick Rose retired. I want to give all my respect to him this week, but I'll tell you, funny, but no, I don't want to relive this era.
Yeah, don't. It's not a good idea. You'll die of miserable death if that comes back. But yeah, again, I'm just really stunned by this whole trade.
You know what? Hold on. No, you know what? Let's bring back Phil Jackson too.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that. So he could be the GM from Mississippi or Missouri or wherever he was doing it from. I mean, geez, like, okay, I'll ask you as a Knicks fan, and not you necessarily, but the greedy Knicks fans who are out there.
Okay.
Is this the last move?
Maybe they think it is. I'd probably like to see one or two more. I think we've got a couple of good stars now, but I would like to see one or two def moves.
But I'm saying now that they made a splash, you know what Knicks fans are going to imply now, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we got to make more big moves.
No, I think you got to keep the balanced approach. I think, like you said, I don't think it has to be immediately, but like 4 to 5 years, you got to win something.
By the way, this is important. Is Mitchell Robinson injured? He's going to be out until December, according to reports. So,
I mean, the only thing he's going to miss really is the NBA Cup,
which no one gives a shit about.
Because if he is, you obviously start Hart.
Lakers won the whole thing. They thought that
there we go. Yeah, because if he Yeah, you start Josh Hart.
First of all, Hart was a beast as a start. He was out rebounding people, and he was undersized.
Mm-hmm.
He was pulling down like 20 rebounds a game at one point. But I don't know. I have a lot of questions about Karl-Anthony Towns. And no, this is not me as a bitter Nets fan who's miserable about the Nets right now.
Well, I think there's plenty of questions to go around. And I think Nick and Ben reaching 40 minutes here. I think there's one question we still don't have the answer to, and one question that we're still left with everything, regardless of where we fall in fandom. Why? Why?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to be asking that question for the next week. The next week, I'm going to be asking that question. Like, you sign him to 4 years, $220 million. Like, I'm looking at the escalations per year in the money. So, like I said, this coming season, 49. Next season, 53. 26, 27, 57. And then 27, 28, he's got a player option at $61 million. And then he's an unrestricted free agent in 28, 29.
Okay, so Untamed Music suggesting, is Hart going to be the sixth man once Mitch comes back? You go JB, Mick, OG, Cat, Mitch, and then bring Hart.
I don't think you could put Mitch and Cat on the floor at the same time. Because I think it's
no, I agree. Actually, I would have Mitch off the bench
because you're not going to put two big men on at the same time. That would be a distraction on court. And Mitch is not like a huge scorer. Like he's more again out there to play defense, kind of guard the perimeter or the paint, depending on what type of game is being played. So, Mitch becomes a really good second unit guy. In my opinion, now with Cat being here. So
I think regardless, either Mitch or Hart, one of them is going to be coming off the bench once Mitch is healthy again.
Well, no, Hart's going to go into the starting lineup. If Cat's here, then Hart's going to go in the starting lineup, and Mitch is going to end up on the bench. Because
you'll essentially, yeah.
No, go ahead, Ben. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say you essentially have like Jalen Brunson is your point guard. He's your franchise guy. Then you have Josh Hart kind of being that glue guy specifically, could play offense, could play defense. You have OG Anunoby being that number 3 currently, which is going to be your pretty much all defense. And then you have Cat being your big man, who could obviously be your stretch guy here and there. And then you obviously have Bridges, who's like a 3-and-D type of guy, who can pretty much do everything. So there's a good kind of complementary of guys in the whole entire thing. And that's why I think this is going to work out. I just don't know specifically once you get down to your bench, then it's like, you got Deuce McBride, you got Mitch, but then you're like, when you're mentioning time, you're like, maybe get some other guys. It's like, then what, right?
Okay, I just found another wrinkle, which I didn't realize. So Ramona Shelburne points out, Towns, of course, is from New Jersey.
He is.
And used to be represented by Knicks team president Leon Rose.
But of course.
There's a lot of homecoming to this story, but Towns was in the gym today in Minnesota preparing to build off last season's finals run. So I'm confused, like big time right now. He's basically claiming that the team traded him, and he basically had no say. I mean, he technically didn't have a no trade clause, so they could have traded him anywhere he wanted.
Right.
But you're telling me as a star, he didn't have a say? I could see it go both ways, but I still think Cat can stretch it. Yeah, that makes total sense.
It depends, yeah. I mean, you could use because obviously Mitch plays defense. You could obviously have Mitch, and it kind of like the Minnesota rotations where you had Rudy and you had Cat, because Rudy was obviously more defense. So it just kind of depends. But I think their closing lineup, they're probably going to have why not go too big? They're probably going to have Mitch off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, the deal is still not 100% like on paper,
right?
Yet, but to say the main pieces, it's stunned. Like, I didn't think Julius Randle was going to be here for the long term anyway, because I just don't think he liked playing in New York.
I thought if there was going to be one person who was probably going to get traded, if you asked me like who out of this bunch, Julius was probably going to be one of the guys most likely I would have picked.
I just think New York was too big for him, to be quite honest. And I think it proved to be what the ownership thought. Now, I'm still questioning whether James Dolan signed off on this trade, or did Leon Rose, who's the president of the operations of the Knicks?
That's what part of me is curious too. Who was the mastermind behind this?
Mhm.
But
you know, James Dolan's going to take credit for this trade, right?
Yeah, I know. Again, I don't know how much we can answer on the Knicks front until we answer the one big question that we're going to be, well, not just we, all NBA fans are going to be yearning for on the Timberwolves front. Until we know why, we don't know all the other pieces that fall in place.
I mean, well, yeah, that's obvious too. They gave up Donte, but
I was going to ask
miss
Tom,
him.
Yeah, I was going to ask Thomas, because we're talking about Donte right now. I do think that the Knicks shooting might take a step back this year.
Without Donte, right?
Donte was obviously probably the best shooter. I mean, Jalen obviously can shoot, but he's more of an attack guy. OG, more of an attack guy, but he could shoot the corner. Cat obviously can shoot. He was at 41% this past year from three. It's not like they don't have pieces that can shoot, don't get me wrong. But Donte was an instant guy that was legitimately a three-point threat, right? I just don't know if they have that threat anymore, but they probably could have a complementary pieces. I mean, Bridges can do it, but I think he's extremely consistent. So they have more of drive and defense specifically, but I think their shooting takes a step back.
I mean, Donte was a spot-up shooter, and that's what allowed the offense to be spread out. And you would see Donte from time to time pull up mid-dribble over half court and shoot. They don't have that anymore. That's what catches defenses off guard, that he could pull up from any spot on the court. Now, I will say Donte DiVincenzo was a little too aggressive at times on court, and he'd be shooting shots from way beyond three-point range at times. But it also allowed the layups and the closer shots to be open, because he wasn't always triggering when he shot from there. He was a good passer too, if I'm not mistaken. He led the team in assists and three-pointers.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's the one guy, if I'm a Knicks fan, I'm probably frustrated with, that I don't have anymore. But I don't know. I'm not buying the Karl-Anthony Towns to New York yet. They need to go out and say, okay, we made a huge move. How do we complement 283? Wait, what?
3 points made.
Oh.
As a team.
As a team? Oh, okay. All right, fine. I mean, but they didn't win. You could make it.
That's so. Oh my god.
What?
Oh, this is so messed up.
What?
I don't know who this is. Somebody. It's just some random NBA Twitter user tweeted. I know Woj looking at his phone like a heroin spoon right now. That's so bad.
I think Shams was the one who broke it.
He did.
It is, yeah. Mikal Bridges, 223 points made, not too much of a difference.
Wait, between 220 and 283? That's a pretty significant difference, if you ask me.
I don't think it's the worst kind of difference.
No, but 60...
It's a difference. I give you that. It is a difference. But to his credit, there could be a lot worse of a difference between 283. It could be 283 and 150. That'd be a lot worse. 283 and 125 would be ridiculous.
The weird thing was the Knicks were very three-point focused last year. And I think...
Yes, and sometimes that is something that frustrates me with Tibbs when he goes into the live by the three, die by the three mode. But
hey, welcome to my world.
What happened?
Said welcome to my world.
That was going to be my point, Ben. Is that's not an exclusively Tibbs thing. That's unfortunately some teams, some coaches. That's something that has infected the league. The modern day league is this reliance on 3-pointers.
Yeah, and then Bobby Marks, who does all the cap stuff for ESPN. Because of the apron restrictions for both teams, details are still being worked out. New York is $7.6 million below the second apron. Minnesota cannot take back more money in the trade. One name not involved is Deuce McBride.
Mm.
So he's not involved.
The deuce is not loose.
Oh, that's horrible.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
We'll say, though, before we kind of conclude, is do you feel like specifically with this Knicks overall move that they're going to be finishing? When you look at the top, 5 teams in the East, if I look at it right now, I think the Celtics are going to be 1. I think that the Knicks are going to be 2.
They're going to be a 2 seed again.
Yeah, and I've always said they're going to be a 2, regardless if they made the cap move or not. I think with Paul George and Philly, I don't know specifically how that's going to be working out. I'm not the biggest guy with Joel Embiid. We obviously kind of saw in the Olympics, Joel Embiid.
And then, then Joel Embiid gets an extension just a few days ago.
We talked about that on episode 251 of Empty the Bench, where Tom saw me was stunned. I saw me being stunned that he got a deal for 3 years, $193 million. That guy's not worth 3 years, $13 million, for crying out loud.
He hasn't won anything, so.
Well, he won an MVP because of the stupid technicality rules before they were changed. To be honest, Jokic should have won, 4 straight MVPs? If that was the case? I mean, I'm looking at the standings from last year briefly. So the Celtics ran away with it. They ran away with it halfway through the season.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it wasn't close.
So they won the Eastern Conference by 14 games. So the only difference you're going to see is maybe they win it by 8 games as opposed to 14. You're not going to see a switch at the top of the division. I'm looking at the way they finished. Milwaukee did nothing. I could see Milwaukee actually dropping down, to be quite honest.
They still have Dame. I mean, Dame and Giannis for a while last year had a hard time just contributing together.
And also Giannis's injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Giannis had back injuries all season.
They didn't have anybody else really outside of that. So
Cleveland at 4. As long as Al Horford draws breath and wear it.
Yeah. No, 100%, man. Yeah, Al Horford knows how to – I want to say he knows how to stop Giannis, but he knows how to stop Embiid for sure, and he knows how to contain. I will say it at best because Giannis is a freak. Great freak, of course. But Al Horford in the playoffs against Giannis at least knows how to contain him.
That's a good point. By the way, Al Horford, great timing, winning a title, getting out.
No, he's still with us.
What?
He's still with us.
I thought he was retired, didn't he?
Nope. He was at training camp this week.
I thought he announced his retirement after the season.
Nope. He's still with us.
Giannis has been unlucky.
Al's going to be more.
Stop. That argument is so silly. Don't tell me he's been unlucky. Don't tell me that. He's had Dame. He's got plenty of role players. Who's the guy I keep forgetting that's the second star on Milwaukee? Because I forget that he's on the team. He's the one who had the injury also. What? No. The other guy who's been on the Bucks forever.
They had Drew Holiday?
No, well, Drew Holiday's with you guys now, isn't he?
Yeah. But they had Drew Holiday in Milwaukee, too.
Chris Middleton. Thank you. That's it. That's how much I forget that he's on the team.
Chris Malcolm in the Middleton.
Yes.
But I think either Indiana or Cleveland can honestly maybe take a step up this year more than Milwaukee, to be honest.
All right, come on, dude. This has nothing to do with injuries. Giannis and Lillard should win a title. If they're such big stars, they should win.
If we're still focused on the East, I mean, going back to what you guys were when we brought up Embiid's contract, I honestly see Philadelphia taking a little bit of a step back, only because I just don't know how it's going to work with him and PG-13 there.
And they got Maxey. Max is ball dominant.
So Philly finished 7th? Am I doing that math right?
Yes, Philly finished 7th.
I mean, to be fair, I'm as much as I criticize Embiid, he was out for a lot of their second half with injury. But
yes, at the same time, I feel like even if they move up to like the 6th or the 5th seed, I don't see Philly as anything more than a first-round playoff.
First of all, you're putting two guys together that can't win shit on the court.
Paul George there, it does not move me as a Celtics fan at all. I'm sorry. It might work maybe for – it'll get them from like – what were they, the 7th seed?
Yeah. They'll go from
Philly?
7 – they'll go from like 7 to 5.
It'll be like
maybe.
a 7th seed or the 5th seed. But it's always Celtics and 5 against them.
But I was going to say, but there's still going to be a first-round playoff elimination. I don't see Philly as any more than that.
And stop with trust the process. I don't want to hear it anymore. I just don't. Like, because how long have we been in trust the process for? 9 years, 10 years now?
Trust the first-round playoff elimination.
Yes. That's exactly
the
right.
The only process they're learning against the Celtics is just they're getting just the bell to them every time.
I mean, I'm looking at the rest of the teams, okay? Cleveland finished 4th. Are they a competitor? No. And
Can they compete? Sure, but they're not going to be like a contender, like a top.
Weren't they having issues?
Another first-round playoff elimination team.
And who was the young player that they were having issues with? Because one was saying they were going to leave if another guy. Oh,
Garland.
Oh yeah,
Garland. Yeah.
So that's going nowhere.
About that relationship, they kept Mitchell, and it looks like Garland's going to stick around for another year. It's pretty much running the same team back, but really,
which means they're not going to finish above 4th like they did.
They brought back Okoro, Bickerstaff left, but it's still the same team.
Bickerstaff unfairly got fired, though.
Yeah.
There. I look at Orlando in the 5th spot; they're going nowhere yet.
They're sneaky fun. They're like one of the fun teams, but like they still are really young.
Well, they have Bonchero.
Yeah.
And then they have what's his name? The brothers. They have them too. I can't remember their name.
The Franz and Mo Wagner.
Yeah. So they have a good team, but they're not ready yet.
Yeah.
They're just not. Then you go down the list. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pacers are the 6th seed. Yep. If they were healthy, I see them jumping Orlando, Cleveland, and Milwaukee.
I think they take a step up. They were definitely our most impressive team we faced all postseason for sure, despite them getting swept. They were in every single game against us.
Oh, my God. Really? What is this? Orlando was 4th last year. I see them being better. Stop. Please.
I'm
don't
not the
embarrass
biggest person
yourself.
in Philly, but I don't – it's too much at this point. I think they could be there maybe in a couple of years, but they're still really, really young, man.
This is an embarrassing comment. Come on.
Oh, dude, don't call embarrassing.
It is because
it's not. No, it's not. Orlando can be sneaky. Ben said it himself.
No, but Philly's got the stars. What does Orlando have?
Philly's going to take such a step back.
Well, I agree with Tom. I think, Orlando is, if they have a decent chemistry, they could still be up there, but I don't think they're going to be up there like that much. I don't think they're going to be up much, as he says, but I could see them being better than them, but I don't think it's going to happen.
I think when we talk about expectation, I see Orlando living up to its expectation a lot better than Philadelphia.
I agree with that.
I agree with that, where if, like we said, so we have them as a 5th. So I could see them jumping Cleveland based on last year's standings if they play good basketball.
They'll all kind of in the mix. Cleveland, Indiana, and Orlando. They'll probably all kind of like a combo of everything.
But to say that Orlando is better than a team with Joel Embiid and Paul George is a little...
And Maxey, too.
And Maxey.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little tough. All right. I'll hear him out. Okay, hear me out. If they're young as you say, then how did they get 4th? Okay, that has nothing to do with young or old. That has to do with winning games.
Time champion KCP, that was a good move for them. But does it specifically get them? I mean, like I said, they're still young. And especially in a really good overall Eastern Conference, can they get to that next step? That's the biggest question.
And the weird thing, first of all, the West is stronger than the East. That's just my opinion and will be for many years to come. When LeBron leaves and retires, when Kevin Durant eventually falls to injury and can't play anymore.
Leave eventually at some point.
So I think the East is getting better, but they're not the West. Just not yet.
Yep.
I will say Orlando in the next 4 to 5 years will be a competitive team. A very competitive team.
Maybe in 3 years, actually.
Yeah.
I say I would only give it a couple of years.
Because They
could be theoretically like the Knicks of like them right now, and like 2 years, 3 years specifically, I think is their.
I say that because I think it's only going to be a couple more years, and then Philadelphia, when this Embiid extension doesn't work out, and Embiid and PG3 and PG13 and Maxey in the same team doesn't work out, they're going to fall back to where they were. Right, it's going to be back of the line. It's going to be back to the suffering in Philly, same as it ever was.
I agree with you on that.
Harden in Philly all over again, where it's essentially just all ball dominant guys, and it's just complete. They'll be like a first seed, first round exit.
I kind of feel bad for Maxey though, because
he's one of my favorite guys on there.
Maxey is a really, really good player. Does he have some injury concerns? Yes, but I think he could be a really good player on a dominant team. I think eventually he's going to get traded. That's just my assumption. I don't know. But I think when, like you said, Tom, if eventually when they have to blow it up because Embiid and PG13 don't work.
Yeah. It was the Harden Sixers. Well, the thing is, I mean, you could say it was the best team, but what was the biggest thing that I mentioned earlier on the program? The big three does not work if you have ball dominant type of guys, and you saw what happened. The Celtics essentially pretty much wiped them in the postseason, like typical, because it's specifically you can have all the talent in the world, but if the offensive pieces you have guys are just too ball dominant, Maxey obviously loves the ball, and Embiid obviously loves the ball, and Harden, you've seen obviously Harden getting moved around like crazy because it's all about Harden.
It's all about ball dominance.
It's all about in terms of Harden's defense too. He doesn't play defense. You saw specifically how much the Celtics cost.
By the way, did you see pictures of him over the last couple of days that he lost some weight?
Are you talking? Wait, you're talking about James Harden?
I thought I saw some pictures circulating on social media that he lost some weight.
Well, it is regular season time, which means he can no longer be.
Oh, come on. Now you're going to say this? Harden single-handedly won 2 games against Boston last year? Are you kidding?
I mean, he did, but the biggest thing, I mean, he had the 2 game-winning shots at the end. Don't discredit on that. But I will say, in terms of winning the overall series, he was going to have to be a Superman specifically to beat a team like that Celtics team with the 5 that they had, and it was not going to be enough. Joel, obviously, obviously, Embiid gets kind of criticism too. We're obviously not going to
like, in my opinion, Joel Embiid is never going to win a title in this league at all because it's me, Joel Embiid.
And he gets tired so easily too. That's the thing about him. When he gets
look what happened to him in the Olympics.
Yeah, he gets to a really good regular season. We obviously give him all the praise in the world and all the awards and stuff. But then you kind of see him. He'll be wiped, and Giannis too.
Really? All in on Harden over PG? Come on, man.
Can't agree with you on that one.
No. PG can move. First of all, PG will play defense. It's not perfect defense. I will give that to you. But PG will at least move the court and play defense and score. Harden sometimes doesn't score. And then he's at dead weight out on the court. No pun intended, by the way.
Well, you don't have to worry about it. As you said, he's losing all that weight getting ready for regular season.
Can you imagine if we have to find a sound effect for thin?
You're not going to.
That would be hilarious, by the way.
I don't know. I don't know if Scott Steiner's on Cameo. If I can go cameo him and
that would be hilarious if you just said, "Hey, James Harden lost weight. We need something. We need you to yell thin."
Can you say you're thin?
You're thin.
All right. Just to wrap things up because it's been an hour. I mean,
holy cow! Whoa.
Yeah. Look, I think when we look at this, at the end of the day, we still have plenty of questions. And unfortunately, as I said earlier, we're not going to know all the answers. There's one question first that we need an answer to. And that is why. Why the hell did Minnesota do this? Why in the world, and to quote you, Nick, did you sign Karl-Anthony Towns all to just end up trading him to the Knicks? I think this is great for the Knicks in the short run, but now the clock is up. The clock is up. You've got 4 or 5 years to win a championship.
Can I go one step further for a second? I'll let you finish your point. But you deceived the Minnesota fan base. By
you're talking about the ownership, about the trade.
yes, you deceived the fans who put their hard-earned money in last year to watch this team. That stadium was full every playoff game. Remember when we were watching the games, you couldn't see a damn seat that was empty in there. Now you have to go convince the fans, oh, well, we traded Cat to the Knicks, and Naz Reid is now our center of attention.
I mean, he's definitely Pat's center of attention.
Well, where do you want to take him again? I don't even remember.
Bora
Bora. That's right. I'm totally kidding, Pat, by the way. But
I'm not.
But by the way, the Knicks and Welcome to New York are completely trending right now on X.
Oh boy.
I mean, I'm telling you right now, in the New York area, if you're listening to WFAN or ESPN 880,
Oh God, I'm afraid to put it on. I'm afraid to put it on and see what the hell is going on there.
I don't know if Stephen A. Smith has gotten any reactions yet.
Oh God. By the way, someone said Naz Reid is a taller Kyrie. That was good. That one was funny.
Jeez.
I'll give you that one.
This is all what Stephen A. Smith said on X. He said on the 10/23. Oh, so okay. So last year, Stephen A. Smith said, should the Knicks trade for Cat? It is now the 27th of September. And he said,
Who was on crack? Who was on crack? Who was on crack?
Never gets old.
Hey, Stephen A., what do you think of the trade?
Stay off the weed.
So
Okay.
that's why. Well, so that's why Karl-Anthony Towns got traded. The ownership was just way too high when they make this deal.
Well, maybe. Again, no accusations being made here. But I don't like that the fans are being deceived. Okay? Like, can you imagine? Well, I feel deceived as a Net fan when they traded Mikal Bridges and basically blew up this whole team. And I felt deceived when they put a big three together. We were supposed to go and play for a title, and then they blew that up. Well, Kyrie Irving decided to believe the earth was flat and that there was COVID and thought that COVID vaccines didn't exist. But
No, he was just so afraid of being chased up and down the court by somebody with a COVID vaccine. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you.
oh, I thought that was Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, yes. Okay, no last dose. Oh, by the way, since you brought him up,
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. The one guy I would really watch also, Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs also. What's going to happen in that situation? Because they're talking about bringing stars there too.
Yeah, sure.
I'm surprised, actually, that the Spurs did not make a call. And put
I think they're going to get Trae Young.
What'd you say?
I thought they were going to get Trae Young.
Yeah, so did I. But
I thought that was going to be a good fit for them.
Kat and Victor Wembanyama would have been a great match, in my opinion. I don't know what the amount of... I'm still finding it hard to believe that Donte and Julius Randle and a first-round pick was all it costed for Kat. Does that mean his value was way down? Or no?
I don't know. Again, I'm not going to know what to think of any. I mean, I have my opinions out there. But again, I don't think we can solidify anything until we know why. And I hope, at some point, I mean, Ben just talking about the media days that are coming up. I hope when it comes to media day that coach, general manager, everybody who is in charge of that organization is grilled. Why? Why did this have to happen?
See,
what answer we get.
If I'm a Timberwolves fan right now, I'm going back to my sales rep or whoever I got my tickets from, or if I have season tickets, and I'm saying, give me my money back because you deceived me. Because I guarantee you, if you walk around the arena in town, wherever it is. I don't know if it's in the city or if it's out. What?
Downtown Minneapolis.
downtown.
It's right next to where the Twins play.
Okay. I bet you if you were to walk around there right now, there's posters of Karl-Anthony Towns all over it.
Oh, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what bothers me here.
Yeah, no. Obviously, the sales representatives did nothing, but again, I think ownership, whoever it may be, even if it's A-Rod, got to sit in front of him and explain, like, why? Why did this have to happen? Like, why did you need to feel the need to trade? Especially, as you said, when all the promotion was that it looked like Karl-Anthony Towns was going to be the future of Minnesota. One question, by the way, from Untamed Music. If you're the Suns, would you bring Beal off the bench and start Tyus Jones?
I don't know. I don't know what that has to do with now, but
no, but I think it's questions. You asked for questions. So
no, I know. I'm just trying to figure out what it has to do with now. No, you start Beal. Beal's making a shitload of money. You got to start him.
I think he has a bounce back year too this year. Something tells me.
Beal needs a huge year because he has been awful since he's been traded from Washington.
He needs a huge deal. He needs a huge year, but at the same time, I mean, think about what we talk about sometimes with baseball or with football, Nick, that when you have the big contract, the expectation is that you're going to play because you don't want to look at that big contract coming off the bench.
True. I agree with that. And by the way, it goes back to a Ben point also with Durant and Booker and Beal. The big three doesn't work at all.
They got swept. Lost.
And by the way, you do realize that their big three takes up the salary cap, right?
Yep.
Yeah, their salary cap's fucked.
Everything after them is essentially penalty money.
They're I shouldn't even say they're on the way. They're on the highway to salary cap hell. They are in salary cap hell.
They're so far in salary cap hell that they're never going to see heaven ever again. Like, it's that bad. Oh, that's a good point too. Where is it? We knew it wasn't going to work from the beginning. Yeah, I could have told you that. I mean, it looked good in theory. Big threes look good in theory, but then they break down, they crash and burn, and then fans are not happy.
What's the expression? Looks good on paper?
Yes, that's what big threes are. They look good on paper, and we all fall for it too. Again, as a Net fan, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden.
Fool's gold.
I'm not going to lie to you. I thought, first of all, we were a Kevin Durant toe on the line from going to the NBA Finals.
Mm-hmm.
But what is that? The whole thing, revision is history. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, you can't go back and replay it and move the toe.
Tyree didn't have that crazy catch in 07 in the Super Bowl. The Patriots are probably undefeated in the Super Bowl. So,
I mean, that's probably the greatest catch of all time in the Super Bowl, by the way. You'll never see a catch like that ever again, especially with the new rules. But
that's the only play I'll definitely want to have it back. But,
or I'll give you another one. Ray Allen's threes with the Celtics and the Heat.
Yep.
Can you imagine if those tough shots in the corner are not hit?
Well, the one that he had, I think, was off the rebound, and then he tied it in the corner with the Heat against the Spurs.
Yes. None of these guys play D besides old ass. Come on. No stars play defense. They just want to score the basketball. No one plays defense anymore. In the college game, they don't teach defense anymore. They just want all the NIL money so that they can do whatever they want. It is what it is. But
all right. I think we've talked enough.
Holy cow. By the way, thanks to the 40-plus people who've been in here watching this whole time. NBA season's around the corner. It's less than a month away.
Can't wait. Knicks Celtics tip off, I think, Tuesday the 22nd at 7 or 7:30 p.m.
I'm looking
Eastern.
that up. I'm looking that up really quick. But let's see. NBA schedule. This is preseason.
Are we going to do preseason games on playback too, Nick, or do you just want to do regular season?
We can, if you want.
Okay.
All right, let me see. It looks like the 22nd.
Yeah, that's what I said. I don't know if it's 7 or 7:30 though.
Okay, it's the first game, 7:30.
Celtics play the Nuggets next week in preseason.
Do they?
Yep.
Well, Knicks
That's
Celtics.
why the Celtics and Nuggets have media day early, is because they start the preseason games earlier than everybody else.
I think part of that has to do because they have international games that they play in
Yeah.
the preseason also. But you're right. Knicks at Celtics, that's going to be ring night, by the way. So they're going to rub it into the Knicks that night. I'm not saying that I'm happy about it, but that's what they're going to do.
I'll be mad salty if you lose that.
But that's going to put extra incentive on the Knicks to play hard. I'll tell you that for sure.
It's gonna be a fun night. I think we need to broadcast that on playback.
And by the way,
Tickets are also going to be out the window too.
And by the way, no one's going to give a shit about the second game now because it's Timberwolves at the Lakers. Well, Cat's not there anymore. LeBron's up there in age.
All of a sudden, NBA tip-off has quite the night to it. Yeah,
And it figures that both teams from the Cat trade are both playing on opening night now.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, say that again?
Both teams involved in the Cat trade are playing on opening night.
Oh, I just realized that. Okay.
There's definitely something coming, folks.
The NBA script writers are behind this.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, wait. C-O-N-spiracy.
I wasn't ready for that.
That's why I did it, because it's late.
All right.
But no, long story short, I'll finish off with this. When the NBA season comes back, that's a direct partner Playback has. We're going to be doing a ton of NBA. We'll be doing a lot of things. We'll have other sports. I don't know what that's going to be yet. But
hold on, Nick.
C-O-N. Conspiracy?
Yes. Of course, I stupidly said the other day that was Stephen A. Smith during our episode.
Showing disrespect to one of the WWE's greatest legends in our truth.
I mean, just to finish it off as full circle. Oops, that was the wrong thing. I guess you could say I was
on crack.
Yes. Yes.
So, I don't know. That's it. Long story short, Karl-Anthony Towns, if you missed the full hour and 17 minutes that we just did, Karl-Anthony Towns traded to the New York Knicks for Donte DiVincenzo and Julius Randle and a first-round pick that they acquired from the Pistons. It's going to be a fun NBA season. By the way, officially, for now, it's the last official season for the NBA on TNT. Also, unless a lawsuit changes everything, which I doubt it will.
Oh, really quick, too, from 7 minutes ago. Point note on Julius Randle's potential fit in Minnesota. He played well for T-Wolves coach Chris Finch in New Orleans when Finch was an assistant with the Pelicans.
It's amazing all these weird connections that both sides have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
It's very funny that all this is going on, despite the fact that, everything is, taking everybody by surprise. I mean, it has taken us by surprise without a doubt. But I mean, at the end of the day, Nick, I mean,
it's true. By the way, I went to Woj's Twitter account just because I wanted to see if he was going to type something stupid or funny as a joke. He has not.
He's enjoying life right now.
I wonder how many people have called him up on his phone and said, "Hey, Woj, trade. There's trade news. Why aren't you reporting it?" Oh, wait. I don't work for ESPN anymore. I don't work in the news business anymore.
Zach Lowe doesn't work for ESPN anymore either.
Oh God! Don't even get me started. With ESPN and layoffs. I mean, by the way, Simmons called out ESPN for laying off Lowe.
Yeah, well, I'm sure this Tuesday you're going to have a mega rant about the Zach Lowe firing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going
to Wednesday. Pardon me.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with the ESPN NBA hierarchy. Will Shams end up at ESPN? That would be a good one. But I'm exhausted. Behind the curtain, I have to go finish editing shows that I have to get Tom to put up.
Yeah.
So, well, actually, one of them is done. But I have to go edit our football forecast preview show. By the way, if you're looking for that, that's going to premiere in less than 12 hours. So some of us actually have to get moving and put the show together. So For Tom Albano, for Ben Kruse, I'm Nick Morgasen. Good night, everybody.
Mhm.
And we'll see you around.
Take care, all.
Take care.